The first ever CS2 Major has concluded. Highs, lows, chaos comebacks, we truly experienced it all in the Royal Arena. So let's relive our 5 biggest learnings, courtesy of GGBet. And I'm going to start out on a bitter one, yet another major trophy missed out for Nico. And I say missed out, in all fairness, he wasn't showing up in that same dominant Nico form that we've come to know and love over the years. Sure, there were glimpses of it, I'm thinking of Inferno versus Mouse, but for the most part, the team were truly relying on m0NESY to be putting up the big numbers. By the way, for his first ever major playoffs, he ends the major as the highest rated player across the board. But unfortunately for G2, just 1 star wasn't enough to be relying upon. For Nico, once again, that trophy evades him. Like G2, Vitality would also stumble in the semis. And ZywOo ends out the major barely scraping inside the top 20 rated players. It was down to Spinks and Flames more often than not to bolster that firepower. Sure, they took advantage of FaZe's Vertigo float, but that was essentially the only highlight. The back-to-back major dream lived and died at the hands of FaZe. We'll get onto Carrigan and co in a second, but can we talk about the way that they managed to nerf Spirit on that very stage? Donk didn't show up with that same unholy 1.7 rating that he showed in the IM Katowice. I mean, that was just insane in its own right. But I think we need to talk about a more pressing and unfortunate issue for Team Spirit. The fact that Zontix really dropped off in both maps 1 and 3. Particularly on Vertigo, it took him 12 rounds to even post 1 frag on the board, and the comeback that Spirit started to make, unfortunately, was just cosmetic. We finally saw them experience the heat on the big stage, and turns out they can bleed. But for Carrigan, it could not have been a more poetic start on home soil, not only claiming revenge for their loss back in Katowice, but also putting up some stellar numbers individually. Versus Spirit on Mirage, a 1.41 rating and 25 kills on that 3rd decider map of Vertigo. Seeing Carri Dad in the crowd as well just brought home how much it meant for Finn. And a team that's made it to every single CS2 top tier grand final would do so again. But then there was Alexi B. A man who had to wait 5 years even to make it into another major grand final would finally get his hands on a well-deserved trophy. And it wasn't without their fair share of hurdles. They would get tested by G2 in the semis and even get blown out by FaZe in the grand final on their own map pick. But the resilience of the entire squad prevailed. For Bit becoming the first CSGO and CS2 major champion. For Ime, managing to bid the ghosts of Paris farewell. And for JL, his first ever major MVP with a 1.22 rating across the event. And there we have it, Copenhagen is a wrap. The first ever CS2 major is in the bag, and what a major it was.